Hello and welcome to the Red 78, a Munster podcast for Munster fans. Rory O'Hagan from Off the Ball, joined by Munster legends Alan Quinlan and Fiona Hayes to look ahead to Shark Week, or Sharks Week more accurately, as the Reds take on the Sharks in the URC quarter-final. Is it bonus territory for Munster, or can they give the tournament a rattle for the rest of it? Let's talk about that and plenty more on this week's episode of the Red 78. First off, Quinny, Fiona, how are you guys?
Really good, Rory. Looking forward to the weekend now in the match.
Yeah, it should be an absolute cracker. Quinny, how are you, sir?
Yeah, good, thanks. No Munster involvement at the weekend. No Irish involvement in the Champions Cup either. And I watched that game on Saturday. It's kind of strange. It's been a relentless season, week after week. But it's good that at least Munster are in the knockout stages now, and let's see what happens in the Shark Tank. I watched a video of Ox and Shay. They're pleading with the Shark supporters to fill the Shark Tank on Saturday and get behind their team. It is bonus territory, really, is it? Maybe sounds like a bit of a defeatist attitude. I'm sure Munster, the team themselves, and the squad will be very determined to try and get a performance. A very, very tough task ahead.
Yeah, we'll delve into the weeds of that across the course of this episode of the Red 78. Plenty of comments reaching us on the show this week, Fiona.
Yeah, thanks again for sending them in, guys. I'll fly through them there. So James Roach has big ask without Jaeger. His tackle technique must need adjusting. He has a lot of concussions. He's happy Adagbo is not going. More important is to get good preseason into him and hit the ground running next season. Chris Tobin, Crowley's rib injury gone in 2 weeks. It's hard to believe. Anyone who's damaged a rib will know. Quinny, we're going to hope more than expectation, but we live in hope. Keane McGibney has, can Munster find another big win in South Africa? It's a knockout game similar to 2023. The squad is strong as it can be for the game. Have we enough in the tank and the set piece to defeat the Sharks? Chef Electric, is Crowley fully recovered, or is Casey going to continue taking the kicks? And then the last one, Patrick Hoot, I was surprised to not see Edwin not straight back in the mix. I know he got a good run in the A game, but it was so effective prior to his injury. On Munster line out of defence issues, the player leadership needs to take ownership, especially this late in the season, and ensure there is clarity in those areas. I back the team to win against the Sharks, and we will go from there. So two mixed comments on Adagbo.
Yeah, it certainly is. He hasn't travelled with the squad as part of their panel. And the match to 23 is going to be confirmed on Friday. The big news, I suppose, is Jack Crowley, Jeremy Byrne, Niall Scannell have all been past fit. Jeremy Loughman is also back. He could be in line for his first appearance since playing against La Rochelle last month. He's been suffering with a hamstring injury. But Fiona, I suppose, first off, good news on that injury front, with Jack, Dermot, Niall and Jeremy all being fit for Saturday's game.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm delighted to see Lockman back as well, Scannell as well. It just adds that experience into the mix. We saw some of the young guys stand up against Benetton, but you have that experience there now, whether it starts and the younger guys come off the bench. It's good to have him here. It's mad about Hidalgo, the different perspectives as well. I thought he would have travelled in the 32, but with such a long layout, he got a couple of minutes under his belt in the A game. I think they probably always had it predicted that it was that it was going to be next season. So it's probably the best thing, because you can imagine the couple of training sessions out there, any bit of contact, there will be a lot of nitty grit, because you have to get yourself up to that physical level that the Sharks are going to bring, because certainly that's what they're about, that physicality. So look, I'm delighted to have the guys back, but I will say I'm like the people texting in. The coach in me knows if I know someone has any sort of a rib injury where you're directing traffic towards. But look, I think Munster will know that, and he wouldn't be playing unless he was fit. I'd imagine he'd probably start in the kicking duties unless Quinny, and then Casey can take over if he gets another niggle. But certainly he's got to be well protected in this game, because they're going to be absolutely gunning for him.
Yeah, they're obviously going to target him, Quinny, I suppose, with that rib injury. Is that something you suffered in your career, Quinny? And is it more of an annoyance than a proper injury when you're playing with it?
Yeah, it's something that's it's down to the pain threshold of how
Mm.
bad it is. Obviously, if you crack a rib or do a lot of damage to it, it's extremely difficult to continue playing or get back quickly. It can take a number of weeks. I would have experienced a bad sternum injury 2009. We back-to-back games against Perpignan, and I got a bad knock in Thomond Park. Went in at half time, could barely move. Was in a lot of pain. I got an injection and a suppository,
Oh
which wasn't
God.
a pretty sight while I was lying up on the treatment bed in
Sounds
the
like a pain
middle
in
of
the
the
arse.
dressing room while Tony McGahan and the rest of the coaches were giving their tactical talk at half
Oh,
time.
jeez.
I was in view of everyone, and it worked. I went out, played the second half, but yeah, I had a lot of pain, a lot of stiffness, a lot of soreness. Couldn't really participate in a lot during the week, and I got an injection into the sternum the following Friday night, and again on Saturday morning. Obviously, I had to fill out forms and stuff like that when it's cortisol injections, and all the proper paperwork had to be done regarding drug testing and all that kind of
Mm.
stuff. So, yeah, I played the match, got through it, and actually played quite well in Perpignan and didn't really have any issues. So it depends. Like he's had 2 weeks. Just giving an example of any sort of sternum rib injury, they can be incredibly sore, but if you can manage the pain with pain relief, and he's too important, isn't he? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Mm.
It's a knockout game, and it's incredibly vital, and it's last throw of the dice, really. If you know, so he's playing on, and Benetton was. And you know what? Sometimes even when he was running, I thought he had a groin injury or something or
Yeah,
a lower leg
me
injury.
too.
But it's that shot of pain that you're getting when you move. Any turn at all with ribs or sternum injuries that can be very, very sore. So yeah, look, I'm sure um, Andre Esterhazen, the unbelievably powerful and big centre for the Sharks will be trying to test Jack Crowley. But look, we know from Jack Crowley physicality is
Mm.
something he thrives on, and he's a very physical player, and he's not afraid of those contact situations. So, um, but it's not just Esterhazen that's going to test any of the Munster players. They have so much power and physicality right across the board, the Sharks. So, but it's great that Crowley's past fit, and I don't know who's look. I presume at this point he'll be taking the players' kicks or conversions if they have any.
Hmm.
But it's great to see him playing anyway. It's a big boost for Munster because he's a real leader for Munster, and they need him to play well and the rest of the players as well to have any chance.
Do you think, Quinny, I know it's not announced yet, do you think you have to carry a 10 on the bench then because of that? Because Munster really haven't been doing that.
Um,
Or Conor Murray could step in, I
I
suppose.
yeah, I don't know. It depends. Like it's Tony Butler goes on the bench then, does he? And I just think with the forward situation and the
Mm.
power when you're playing the South Africans teams, the 6-2 gives you
Yeah.
a little bit of comfort in that area. Look, it's a risk. We saw in Northampton last Saturday when James Ram and George Furbank went off after 2-3 minutes. It backfires on you, and I think with South Africa going for 7-1 splits, and they were the ones who kind of brought that in. It's a chance that you can backfire if you get the injuries. It hasn't. We've no examples of that happening to South Africa. Um, but look at Northampton at the weekend. It just causes an issue and a problem when you have to reshuffle everything, and that was a difficult situation for them. So it is a risk. The 7-1 is incredibly risky. 6-2, there's still a risk, but you have to hope that one of your loose forwards then can actually play out in the backs
Yeah.
or go to the centre. We saw Ben Earl playing the centre for England during the Six Nations.
Yeah.
Um,
Jack
I don't
O'Donoghue.
know. Yeah, I look. I think with Conor Murray being able to go to 10 and play in that position, I think that's probably the way I would go.
Yeah.
You can't cover every eventuality here, but you could be dictated to by how. Like we won't know until we hear a team named. If we see a 5-3 split on the bench, well, that would indicate then that they're hoping Jack Crowley can get through 50 or 60 minutes, and and that they're not 100% confident that it's again, as I said, with a rib injury, there's a pain threshold there. And it came from a tackle. And I look back at the game of just being hit hard and kind of dumped backwards, and he came down on his back, player shoulder through in the ribs. So it just depends how bad it is. But look, if he's 90% there, I'd be going with the 6-2 split.
Let's hope Jack is okay and fully fit for Saturday's game. Let's look ahead to it. Fiona, talk to me about the Sharks team, and I suppose littered with Springboks in their team. So it is going to be a massively tough test for Munster this coming Saturday.
Absolutely. When you look at that front row in particular, you're going, wow. But it's actually interesting if you look at the stats from the URC. I know they probably changed, but on scrum wins, the Sharks are actually down in 12th on that side of things. So you would expect from those that front row to be squeaky clean and absolutely dominating, but it's not the case. And to be fair to Munster, they have improved in that area. But certainly it's when you look at the team sheet, Quinny spoke about Esterhazy. I think he's unbelievable. He's played in England for so long, was really dominant over there, and is doing the same since he went back to South Africa. He brings that physicality. But there is one thing I will say about Munster. They will have done their homework, and the Sharks, for all the big names, all the South Africans, they're actually have the highest missed tackle rate and the highest turnover rate in the competition. So it's an area Munster can really go at. And we've spoke about last week as well, how we saw the attack clicking and how it was once they get going, they can really pull teams apart. So for me, I think it has to be absolutely on the money against this Sharks team. Yes, we know the physicality. We know they're going to slow down rucks. But if Munster's attack can get kicking, I think in the Sharks team, and you'll see it of late, especially when you watch that Scarlets first half, absolutely, yes, they didn't leak tries or anything like that, but you can find holes, and certainly this Munster team will have done its homework. So I'm hoping that we get an absolute attack in display, because I've no doubt these boys know the physicality is coming, coming quick, and they'll be prepared for that. And a few guys coming back as well, like you spoke, Scannell, Lockman, being available, that adds something as well to the mix.
The last time the sides met was 26th of October in South Africa. Sharks winning 41-24 in what was Graham Roundtree's last game in charge of the province. It's been quite a whirlwind 7 months for Munster since. But when you look at this Munster team, Quinny, that'll head out onto the pitch on Saturday, what are their keys to win? What are their strengths against the Sharks team?
Yeah, well, Fiona mentioned the stats. I think you can be lulled in here, and you have to try and find some vulnerability when you're analysing the opposition. And the stats, which is incredible for a team that finishes third defensively, they've been 15th defensively in the URC. Tackle success is 79%. They're sixth in that, but the overall defensive stuff, tackles missed, turnovers lost, turnovers won. Turnovers lost, they're first, 287. So they can be very, very sloppy at times. And that, that's shown in some of their performances. They have this incredible power where if you go back to that game in October where they scored tries early on, they kind of, in a 10, 15-minute period, they just kind of were overpowering. They blew Munster away with early tries. Munster came back and fought kind of bravely, but they were always chasing the game. They can't let that happen. I think their line-out is a big strength, and it's a big weakness for Munster. So that's an area of concern. So the very obvious one is Munster have got to win their line-out, and scrums. The set piece is the most obvious one. You don't have to be a guru into rugby to realise that you're going to be tested here at scrum time. Oxenche, Umbanambi and Vincent Koch, Michuna, who's going to come off the bench, another unbelievably powerful prop. If Munster can get the scrum right and get some sort of parity there, well, then they can play a little bit and they can go after some of those vulnerabilities. And Munster have been decent at times when they held on to the ball. So scrum set, line out scrum, the most obvious vital things. And then because of maybe Sharks been sloppy in defence when you go to multi-phase, if you can hold on to the ball for a period of time, they'll find some opportunities and they'll find gaps. And Munster's attack is right up there with, points scored. They're sixth. They've more tries scored. They're fourth in offloads. They're third in meters gained. They're fifth in defenders beaten, and they're fourth in clean breaks. So if they can actually get to that point of having the ball for a period of time, well, even though it's been a very up and down season for months, a poor season, we'd have to say, overall, because when you're scraping to get into the playoffs in your last game, that's a poor season.